Good time of the day to my fellow Coursera classmates from around the world. I am presenting my final assessment for the Learning to Teach Online Coursera course entitled Designing a Digital Project Guide to Facilitate Group Work. My name is Colleen O'Rourke. I'm a high school science teacher and science department chair at Archbishop Reardon High School in San Francisco, California. So a little bit of background on the project that I decided to come up with. Over the last few years, my school science department has been moving towards project-based learning in our courses. And these projects have been really useful because they allow students to demonstrate critical thinking, applied knowledge, and communication skills that move beyond just our simple material in our course. While students have generally been enjoying these projects so far, I've been noticing they have consistent issues with communicating and coordinating with their other group members outside of class. Additionally, it's been hard for me to keep track of the progress of all these individual groups across all my courses and provide helpful guiding feedback to wherever they are in their design and planning process. So I'm hoping to address these problems by developing a digital document that will work with our in-class learning to help them work on collaboratively building their work and sharing their progress with me, while at the same time developing important digital literacy skills and 21st century skills that they can take with them in college courses and future job, career options. So to demonstrate my idea, I have a quick walkthrough of what I envision this project entailing. So here I have an early draft template of what I envision these project digital worksheets to look like. But my idea here is that this whole document walks through all the steps that they need to be working on as they work on their project, with researching background, coming up with ideas, stating why these ideas are important, and getting feedback on their ideas. And this is the sort of thing that I've done before with a written document, but what I like about this digital document is that now everything is in one place here that they can all access from outside of the classroom, whether or not everybody at the group is present in class in any one day. And most importantly, if they share it with me, I can access it at multiple stages throughout the project to provide feedback. So for example, this is just a template, but there would be some meta information here. It's specific to the project, places for them to input their group name, specific project roles, so it's clearly stated what the roles are and who's supposed to do them. Then there's forms here for them to fill in as they go. And then as they work through this sequentially, there's places here where it specifically asks them to check in with me, either in person or by emailing me a link to this document so I can see what they've done so far and I can provide feedback. And one thing I can do is highlight specific sections and leave comments that they can then all in the group see and are recorded here, so I can see if they have addressed the comments before I say, okay, you can move on. What I've found is, by doing this, a lot of them are, as we've learned in this course, we can't assume that our young students are automatically digital natives. A lot of them are still learning how to interact with these tools. So I would provide a walkthrough screencast instructions on how to make a copy of this template to their own Google Drive, how to add their team members onto that same template so they can all edit it, and how to add me onto that template so that I can access it and leave comments. So by clicking this link, they can go right to that video to see what they need to do and then start editing immediately as they start working on the project. So again, some of the benefits I see from adapting this digital strategy for projects like this instead of the paper-based strategies I've used before. But by being online, it is accessible to all students, both within and outside of the class. There's a clear record of what has been completed and what still needs addressing that they can view and I can view. This document cannot be misplaced or lost, which has frequently been a problem. Students can share their document with myself or another instructor to get clear, typed feedback on the progress, which all group members can review. This helps train them in their own revision towards moving towards mastery. Also, if I come up with this basic Google Docs template, this can very easily and quickly be adapted for different project-based learning in my own course, different projects, or shared amongst teachers teaching the same course or the entire science department as basically a standard format. And as I said, this is building important digital literacy skills that they have not necessarily gained so far. So for part 2 of this assignment, I'll be discussing how this digital tool will meet course alignment and facilitate both course and department-wide goals. A tool like this can be used at multiple places within the course in terms of meeting content standards, but what I think is going to be more important is that it will help us meet a lot of the larger pedagogical goals that we've been building to in our department and school-wide. So our school has been transitioning to a standards-based grading model, which means that the coursework that we have is divided up into formative assignments, which are largely ungraded assignments that help build skills and build content knowledge, and then summative assessments, which are graded. And so projects like this would be broken up into multiple formative steps as they build on the project, building to the final assessment, which is their final report and final test. So the intent of standard-based learning in general is to build an inherent drive within the students towards achieving mastery by dividing this learning up into clear learning targets and tracking their progress toward it. But what's key about grading models like this is that they work best when instructors are able to give detailed, specific, and rapid feedback. Like getting that feedback helps the students calibrate and see like what they're doing that's working and what they're doing that isn't working. So if the students get feedback weeks after they turn in an assignment, it's not going to be rapid enough for them really to build on this model. So using online progress documents like this will hopefully allow for a reduced latency in providing feedback to students. Using a guided project structure like this will also help us as instructors meet specific skills-based standards within our department, as shown on the next slide. So as we've been developing our school-wide standards-based grading approach, each department has been developing department standards that are based on specific skills that students work on building across their 4 years at our school. So something like this, providing more feedback and structure for research skills, writing skills, collaboration skills, constructing arguments. All of these are the sorts of things that one would hopefully be able to accomplish in any project learning. But by using a digital progress tracker for the project, it will definitely allow us to give more specific feedback so that they can make sure that they're developing these skills. So in this next section, I'll be discussing strategies to increase student engagement with tools like this, which will hopefully bring them towards the goal that we're aiming for in all of our educational approaches, which is helping to make them partners in their own learning. So one thing I have learned in using digital tools in my courses so far is that, as discussed in this course, many students are not digital natives and they are often overwhelmed by the prospect of engaging with digital tools. So it is important to lower the learning curve of using such digital resources by providing clear, scaffolded instructions and demonstrations. It is important to have a clear set of norms for what behavior is expected of them when collaborating on online documents for school. It's important to provide timely feedback so that they know that if they interact with a tool or request feedback, I'll provide it to them rapidly, so that encourages them to reflect on changes and things that they need to do to progress in the project. Since larger projects like these often have multiple checkpoints and multiple learning goals, to help them learn how to pace themselves, it's important to provide a clear list of project deadlines that they need to hit, and check in with groups who have not met their deadlines. By looking at the project document, it's very easy to see who has not gotten to certain points at certain times. It's also important to let students know that I acknowledge their work, both positive and things that need progress, because getting positive encouragement will help increase engagement. And constructive comments left within the document. All of these things will hopefully get them interested in wanting to interact with it, because they know that this is one way that they can get feedback and recognition from their instructor. And finally, putting these sorts of things in a real world context, it's important to discuss how collaborative project skills that we are practicing will transition into college and real world work situations. So for the last section of this project, as I've discussed that's very important for design-based thinking, is evaluating these digital tools. And specifically, I've broken it down into 3 big questions. 1, is it designed well? 2, are students engaging with these tools? And 3, are these tools working for the sort of learning outcomes we are building towards? In terms of making sure the tool is designed well, one of the most important resources that I have is peer feedback. At my school, I'm fortunate that faculty across all departments are very good at interacting and collaborating together, bouncing ideas off each other, being like, hey, I came up with this, what do you think? Or like, ooh, that looks cool, can I suggest something? So it's very easy for me to work on a template like this and share it digitally with members of my department to hopefully get collaborative feedback. This will be very important, especially if something like this becomes a standard template that everybody in the department uses, making sure that everybody has a buy-in and a voice to it. Our department is also moving towards aligning our curriculum with the Next Generation Science Standards, or the NGSS. So fortunately, there are rubrics online to help us sort of compare the curriculum that we design against the Next Generation Science Standards. So something like this that's specifically based on skills and practicing these skills would probably be compared against the rubrics guiding development in the science and engineering practices. Finally, something like this, I would be very pleased to bring it to our monthly professional development meetings, where we meet with cross-divisional faculty groups to discuss curriculum and teaching strategies throughout the year. So when I'm using the tool, obviously I'll need to be checking for student engagement at the time. Luckily, the reason that I like the Google Documents format is that if I have access to all of the documents, I can log in at any time to see how much they've filled out over the course of the project. But what this also allows me to do is, if they make sure that they have view history turned on the document, I can go in through the activity dashboard feature and check to see who has been opening the file, who has been editing the file, and when. So I can see right away if there's a student who hasn't been accessed, first off, a student who hasn't accessed the file at all, I can contact them directly and say what's up. If there's individual students in individual groups, if they claim, oh, they're not doing their work, I can log in here and say, oh yeah, they haven't even opened this document in the last week. So then I can actually, within the activity dashboard, email them at their school email address to have a private connection and private chat to be like, hey, are you having trouble accessing it? Are there group issues that you're dealing with? Are there ways that I can assist you? And finally, in order to get a general sense of, is this effective not only for completing the project, but is it effective for teaching those department skills, teaching those digital literacy skills, is going and evaluating the overall progress of the students. So this semester, during my school's emergency distance learning between March and late May, I experimented with increasing the use of Google Docs in my biology classes. Nothing so formal as this yet, but just kind of getting a sense of, like how students use it. And then in my end of the year feedback survey, which I always build in Google Forms, I asked them, specifically, that one of the skills we were practicing during this time was using collaborative documents, and how do they feel about their such skills on it at this time. And what I found is that 50% of the students said that they felt that they improved their skills with collaborative documents such as Google Docs. And the other 50% said that they have pretty much the same understanding as they did before, but none said that they were more confused. So that's really important to me, is seeing that at least half my classes, improved their digital literacy skills. So my hope is that with more intentional planning and structuring of projects and documents such as this, even more students will self-identify that they have improved in these skills. So thank you very much for listening to my presentation on my project. If you have any questions or want to receive copies of my documents for your own courses, please feel free to email me. And be safe and stay well.